We're on the home stretch, boys and girls. 165 pounds. The biggest next topic weight of this year's NCAA championships. Mitchell Messenbrink will win this weight. Second round matchups, I have Mitchell Messenbrink versus Braden Scholes, and Mitchell Messenbrink moving on. Bryce Hepner and Maddie Bianchi. I have Bryce Hepner moving on. Ladarian Lockett. I have him wrestling the best name of the 2026 Nationals Championships in Cleveland, Ohio. His name goes by Brock Woodcock. I have him beating Caesar Alvin. And then I have Ladarian Lockett beating Brock Woodcock. I didn't necessarily have that much faith in him, but he does have victory on my bracket based on his name and how funny I think it sounds. Andrew Sparks, I have him meeting up with Nico Ruiz. Nico Ruiz moving on to meet up with Ladarian Lockett. Mikey Caliendo, I have him meeting up with Andrew Barbosa. I do not believe Andrew Barbosa can do to Caliendo what he did to Blaze. But how am I to think that due to the fact that Blaze beat Caliendo? Your reasoning is just as good as mine. Ryder Downey, I have him meeting up with LJ Raju and beating him to move on to the quarters to wrestle Mikey Caliendo. Max Brignola, I have him meeting up with Will Denny, and I have Will Denny beating Brignola. Gunnar Filipowicz, I have him meeting up with Joey Blaze. Joey Blaze moving on to the quarters. Mitchell Messenbrink beating Bryce Hepner to move on to the semifinal matchup against Ladarian Lockett, who beats Nico Ruiz. All right. Mikey Caliendo beating Ryder Downey to move on to the semis. And I have William Denny beating Joey Blaze to wrestle Mikey Caliendo in the semifinals on Friday night. Mitchell Messenbrink, next topic against Ladarian Lockett. I don't think it's going to be close, although I do believe it will be interesting just because Okie State is finally wrestling Penn State, which everyone wants. Give us it in a duel. I know David wants it. Kale, get it together. Mikey Caliendo versus Will Denny. I have Mikey Caliendo moving on to the finals and keeping the Iowa Hawkeyes finalist streak alive. Thank you, Mikey Caliendo. And I have Mitchell Messenbrink beating him in the final. Let's move on to my blood round. Blood round, Max Brignola versus Nico Ruiz. I have Nico Ruiz moving on to All-American. LJ Raju beating up with Bryce Hepner. I have Bryce Hepner moving on to All-American. Andrew Sparks versus Joey Blaze. Joey Blaze moving on to become an All-American. Maddie Bianchi versus Ryder Downey. I have Mighty Maddie Bianchi moving on to become an All-American to wrestle Joey Blaze. And loses to go to the 7th place match. Nico Ruiz wrestling Bryce Hepner. Bryce Hepner moves down to the 7th place match as Nico Ruiz moves on against Will Denny to go for 3rd place. Nico Ruiz wins that match. Joey Blaze and Ladarian Lockett. I have Joey Blaze moving on and getting 3rd, beating Nico Ruiz. Ladarian Lockett beating Will Denny for 5th. And Maddie Bianchi beating Bryce Hepner for 7th place. And that right there is 165 pounds.